that had been put out. The next day, the Huntly Power Station, yes, Huntly had its own power station even in those days, faced an outage to the Glenafton Mine. Some mine electricians tried to trace the fault without success. The next morning, they went back below ground to look for the fault. The fan was not started as the electricians were working in the return airway. At 9 a.m, the mine manager, Christopher Blackburn, told his wife that he was going to the mine to look around and would not be long. About an hour later, Mrs. Blackburn received a call from her husband on the mine telephone. For God's sake, tell Thomas to get the fan going as there are men trapped in the mine. The fire had rekindled. A rescue party assembled and went below ground. Everybody who was in the mine that morning died. By Sunday evening, 11 men were dead. Make no mistake, these men were heroes. They died trying to save their mates. Everybody who I have interviewed about the disaster and who was there that day saying the same thing. Those who were in the first rescue party knew that they would probably not come out of that mine alive. You have to remember, in those days, there was none of the safety gear that is taken for granted today. The miners entered a mine full of carbon monoxide with nothing more than perhaps a damp cloth around their faces. While the story of how the miners died might be simple, the story of the impact on their wives and children is far more complex. It's a tale of families torn apart to this day, of families who are beginning to rise above the Great Depression, being thrown back into abject poverty, and of families whose pain is so great that the entire matter is hushed up, leaving a silent and unspoken question that have echoed down through the generations. There are people here today who saw their fathers walking through their deaths, and some who have not known their grandfather or great-grandfather because they died at Glenafton. Among the descendants of these men, members of the Clark, Cole, Peden, Marshall, Wilcox, and possibly the Curley family are here today. If I've left any families out, please accept my apologies. 2 more pages. However, there was much more to Glenafton than a mining disaster. Glenafton was a vibrant community. It was established by the New Zealand Dairy Cooperative, who opened the Glenafton Mine so that their dairy factories had a reliable source of energy. It was Glenafton coal that powered the growth of New Zealand's dairy industry. On the opening day, they had a big function for Waikato dairy farmers at Glenafton. When it was over, they found someone who'd stolen the cutlery. Because of the connection to the dairy industry, Glenafton miners used to say that they were working for the butterfat. Glenafton had shops, bowling greens, sports clubs, a cinema and a dance hall. People made their own fun. There were no video games, no television. The close-knit nature of Glenafton can be gauged by the sheer number of people here today, and by the fact that our phones have been running red hot. People have come from far and wide to reminisce and to share stories about old Glenafton. The most travelled is probably Dr. Dick Seven, who has made a special trip from his home in Queenstown to be with us today. And there is one other man who deserves a special mention. Bill Baker is the last surviving member of the rescue party at the Glenafton disaster. Bill is in his 90s and was dead keen to be here today. Unfortunately, in the last 2 weeks or so, Bill fell down his back steps and broke his back. So he is now in Waikato Hospital. I have been told that they hope to fit him up next week, so Bill, our thoughts are with you today. When you go through the exhibition, You will see that this is what museum people call text heavy. There is a lot of reading. This was unavoidable. Surprisingly, we don't have many pieces from Glenafton. Because there is so much written material, we have made up 2 copies of a book, photocopies from some of the items on display. If you want to read it, they are in the veranda area next to the chaff cutter. The display stretches from the veranda area up the staircase and down the corridor towards the kitchen. Now my thank you. This exhibition is the result of a lot of hard work by a small group of people. Bear Skelly has done a huge amount of work, organising the catering, providing us with contact, and generally making sure that everything has run smoothly. Other people, Joy Danford, Doreen Lane, Della Parsonage, Janet Cole, Nellie Bredendich, have generously provided food for this afternoon. St John Ambulance have lent some of their cadets to wait on me this afternoon. Colin Jenner and his team from Community Corrections made the museum grounds look really good, as has David Lane, who spent most of yesterday mowing the lawn. If it wasn't for Nellie Bredendich providing us with a list of contacts, many of you wouldn't have been invited. Other people have gone above and beyond the call of duty for this exhibition, but there are 2 who deserve special mention. Cherie Hall, my secretary, and my lifetime partner, Sandy Duncan. These 2 women have put up with my foul language, my bad temper, and my arrogant mood swings. They have suffered bad back, headache, and sore feet to make sure that today's event goes smoothly. Thanks. So finally, I will hand over to Minister Doreen Adams, who will lead us into a brief memorial service for those men who died 70 years ago. And when she is finished, Doreen will declare the exhibition open.
I'd just like to reiterate that my name is Doreen Adamson, with S-O-N on the end of it.
Sorry, Doreen.
And I have the privilege of being the vicar of the Huntly Anglican Church, which encompasses the surrounding districts as well as Glenafton. My connection with the mine, and I'm sorry about the position that I've got here, and I might just shift if you excuse me. We set this up this morning when it was raining. Now it's not, so good, thanks to God for that. My connection with the mines is with my husband. In 1965 we came to Huntly, and my husband John got a job in the mine. He was a plumber for quite a while and went underground. And at that time my father-in-law was the district mines manager, Mr. Jimmy Adamson. And so we had good memories. We lived in Rotorua for 2 years. And in those 2 years we began to come to understand what it's like to live in a small community, as most of you will be aware. That lovely comradeship you have. And as you were gathering here today and you were remembering and seeing familiar faces, it was, wow, now I know who you are. Who you connected to. Wow, I didn't believe that. It was just a wonderful to eavesdrop on some of your conversation. It was an honour for me to be part of that. I know you didn't want to talk to me. You wanted to talk to your friends, and that's fair enough too. So our service today, I'm sorry it's not going to be that short, but I think we need to remember why we are here. We need to remember the community life in Glenafton. We need to remember the men that did give their life.